Hey, welcome everyone. Look at your bank account right now. Really look at it, that number staring back at you, the one that makes your stomach tight, the one that keeps you up at night calculating whether you can afford basic things, the one that makes you feel like you're failing at life. What if I told you that number is about to become irrelevant? What if I told you you're standing at the edge of a financial shift so significant that 6 months from now you won't even recognize your life? I'm Anna, and listen, I don't usually do readings about money like this. I don't usually talk about wealth or abundance in such direct terms. But the energy coming through right now is so strong, so specific, so insistent that I can't ignore it. Something is shifting for people who find this reading, something financial, something material, something that might change everything about how you live. So let's explore this. The possibility that you're moving from a place of financial struggle into a place of genuine abundance. The sense that you might be entering a phase where money flows differently, where opportunities appear, where the constant stress about finances begins to dissolve, is less than has hone. Zero is greater than. Take what resonates here. This is a reflection on patterns and possibilities, not a guarantee. You remain in control of your choices and actions, always. This is simply an invitation to consider what might be available to you right now. Let me start by acknowledging where you might be right now. And I mean really acknowledging it, because I think you've been struggling, haven't you? Maybe not in ways everyone can see. Maybe you look fine on the outside. Maybe you're still showing up, still functioning, still pretending everything's okay. But internally, you've been stressed about money, worried about bills, feeling the weight of not having enough, feeling trapped by financial limitations. Maybe you've been working hard, really hard, and it feels like you're getting nowhere, like you're running on a treadmill, burning energy but not actually moving forward. Like no matter what you do, you can't seem to get ahead. There's always another expense, always another setback, always something that drains whatever small progress you manage to make. And that exhaustion, that financial exhaustion, it's real. It affects everything. How you sleep, how you show up in relationships, what opportunities you feel you can say yes to, your sense of possibility for your future. Money stress has a way of shrinking your world, making everything feel harder and heavier than it should. Is less than has hone. Zero is greater than. But here's what I'm picking up on. You may be approaching the end of that cycle, not because you're suddenly going to win the lottery. I'm not promising that. But because there might be a shift happening in how resources flow to you, in what becomes available, in doors that might start opening that have been closed. And I know that might sound too good to be true. I know you might be thinking, yeah, I've heard this before and nothing changed. But stay with me, because the energy around this is different. This isn't about magical thinking or toxic positivity. This is about recognizing when conditions are actually shifting. Let me ask you something. Have you been doing inner work lately? Have you been shifting how you think about money, how you relate to abundance, how you see your own value? Because I feel like some of you have been doing that work, maybe without even calling it that. You've been challenging old beliefs, questioning stories you inherited about money, starting to see yourself differently. And that internal work, that's not separate from financial shifts. That's actually the foundation. Because how we think about money, how we feel about receiving, how we value ourselves, all of that shapes what we allow into our lives. When those internal patterns shift, external circumstances can shift too. Is less than has hone. Zero is greater than. You know what I'm also sensing? Some of you might have been in a season of planting, investing time or energy or resources into things that haven't paid off yet. learning new skills, building something slowly, showing up consistently even when you weren't seeing immediate results, and you might have been wondering if any of it matters, if any of it's going to lead anywhere. But planting seasons look like nothing's happening. Seeds underground don't look impressive. There's no visible growth, just faith that something's developing beneath the surface. And I feel like some of you might be approaching harvest time, where what you've been building, what you've been investing in, might start yielding returns. Let me slow down here. Is less than has hown, 0 is greater than, because I want to be really clear about what I mean when I say broke to rich. I'm not necessarily talking about becoming a millionaire overnight. I'm talking about moving from a state of lack and stress to a state of sufficiency and flow, where you have enough, where money stops being this constant source of anxiety, where you can make choices based on what you actually want, not just what you can barely afford. Rich can mean different things. It can mean having savings for the first time. It can mean paying off debt that's been weighing on you. It can mean being able to say yes to experiences you've been denying yourself. It can mean not having to check your account before buying groceries. It can mean breathing easier, sleeping better, feeling more free. So when I talk about this shift, I'm talking about movement from financial struggle to financial stability, from constant stress to relative peace, from scarcity mindset to abundance experience. Is less than has hown. 0 is greater than. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine waking up 3 months from now, 6 months from now, and the first thing you feel isn't anxiety about money. Imagine checking your bank account and actually feeling okay about what you see. Imagine an unexpected expense coming up and being able to handle it without panic. Imagine being able to help someone you care about financially. Imagine planning something you want to do without immediately calculating whether you can afford it. That feeling, that ease, that might be closer than you think. Not because of magic, but because of alignment, because of shifts in how you're operating, because of opportunities that might be approaching, because of work you've been doing finally starting to pay off. Is less than has hown. 0 is greater than. Now let's talk about this idea that God wants to spoil you. And whether you relate to that language or not, whether you're religious or spiritual or neither, the core idea is the same. The universe, life, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't want you to suffer. It doesn't want you to struggle endlessly. There's no virtue in poverty. There's no spiritual lesson that requires you to stay broke. You're allowed to have resources. You're allowed to be supported. You're allowed to receive abundantly. And if you've been taught otherwise, if you've internalized messages about money being evil or wealth being wrong, those beliefs might be blocking what's trying to reach you. Let me ask you another question. What would you do with financial freedom? Not in a fantasy way, but really, if money stress dissolved, if you had enough and then some, what would change? Would you go back to school, start a business, travel, help your family, create art, rest, actually take care of your health? Your answer to that question matters, because desire is information. What you want to do with resources tells you something about your purpose, your values, your gifts. And when you're clear about why you want abundance, when it's connected to something meaningful rather than just escape from pain, that clarity can actually help draw resources toward you. Drop a comment about what financial freedom would allow you to do, because speaking it out loud naming it, that's part of making it real, is less than Hasson. 0 is greater than. You know what else I'm picking up on? Some of you might be about to encounter an opportunity, not handed to you on a silver platter necessarily, but presented as an option, a choice you can make, a path you can take. And it might require courage. It might require belief in yourself. It might require taking a risk. And this is where it gets tricky, because when you've been in survival mode, when you've been broke, risk feels terrifying. The instinct is to play it safe, to hold on to whatever little security you have, but sometimes the shift from broke to rich requires taking calculated risks, betting on yourself, saying yes to something that feels like a stretch. I can't tell you what that opportunity might be. It's different for everyone. Could be a job offer, could be starting something of your own, could be an investment of time or money into learning something new, could be relocating, could be asking for what you're worth, could be leaving something that's keeping you small. But if an opportunity appears and your gut says this could change things, pay attention. Don't dismiss it just because it's unfamiliar or scary. Let me share something with you. Financial transformation rarely happens all at once. It's usually a series of shifts, a raise here, a new client there, an unexpected refund, a debt getting forgiven, a side income starting to grow, small increases that compound over time. And at some point, you look around and realize your financial reality is completely different than it was a year ago. So don't wait for one massive windfall. Notice the small improvements, acknowledge the incremental progress, celebrate the steps forward even when they feel small, because momentum builds. One good thing leads to another. Energy shifts create more shifts. Is less than has hone. 0 is greater than. Let's sit with this for a moment. What if you're actually closer to financial stability than you think? What if you're on the edge of breakthrough and you just can't see it yet because you're still in the difficult part? What if everything you've been through has been preparation for what's coming? I know that's hard to believe when you're in it, when you're stressed and tired and frustrated. But sometimes we're closest to breakthrough right before it happens, right when we're most tempted to give up. Let me ask you something else. Have you been blocking your own abundance? Have you been saying things like, I can't afford that, or money always runs out, or I'm just not good with money? Have you been rejecting opportunities to receive because you feel undeserving? Have you been keeping yourself small financially because some part of you believes that's where you belong? Because your words matter, your beliefs matter. The stories you tell yourself about money, they create your experience of money. And if you've been running scarcity programming, if you've been affirming lack, that might be creating more lack. What would shift if you started speaking differently? If you started saying, I'm open to receiving and money flows to me and I'm worthy of abundance, not as empty affirmations, but as genuine shifts in how you see yourself and your relationship to resources. Is less than has hone. 0 is greater than. You know what else this reading is bringing up? The idea of being spoiled by God, by the universe, by life. And spoiled doesn't mean you don't work. It doesn't mean everything's handed to you with no effort. It means you're supported. It means you're provided for. It means resources come more easily than they have been. It means you get pleasant surprises. It means things work out in your favor. Some of you might resist that idea. You might think you have to earn everything through struggle. That ease means you're doing something wrong, that if it's not hard, it doesn't count. But what if that's not true? What if you can be successful and supported? What if you can receive abundantly without suffering for it? Let me offer you something. Permission to want financial abundance, permission to pursue it actively, permission to believe it's possible for you specifically, not just for other people, permission to receive without guilt, permission to enjoy resources without apologizing for having them. You don't have to stay broke to stay humble. You don't have to struggle to stay spiritual. You don't have to deny yourself to be good. You can be abundant and generous, wealthy and grounded, successful and kind. Is less than Hasson. 0 is greater than. Here's what I want you to remember. Moving from broke to rich, from struggle to stability, it's not just about the money. It's about reclaiming your power. It's about recognizing your value. It's about opening yourself to receive what you've been blocking. It's about aligning with abundance instead of scarcity. And that shift might be starting right now, not because you read this reading, but because you're ready, because you've done the work, because you've been through enough struggle and you're finally open to something different. Is less than Hasson. 0 is greater than. Take what resonates from this reading. Leave what doesn't. And remember that you remain in control of your actions, of your beliefs, of what you choose to pursue. Financial abundance might be available to you, but you have to be willing to reach for it. You might be moving from broke to rich, from stressed to stable, from limited to expansive, and that journey might have already started. You might already be in the middle of it without fully recognizing it yet. Is less than Hasson. 0 is greater than. Trust your inner knowing. Trust that you're worthy of abundance. Trust that financial struggle doesn't have to be your permanent state. And trust that when opportunities appear, you'll have the courage to take them. Is less than Hasson. 0 is greater than. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being open to possibility. Thank you for believing that something better might be available. You're exactly where you need to be, on the edge of shift. And that's powerful. I'll see you in the next one. Take care, and remember, you're allowed to be rich. You're allowed to be supported. You're allowed to thrive financially. There's nothing wrong with wanting that and working toward it. I don't sell futures. I build architects. Not predictions, just the naked truth for the hard ones. Stay magic. Stay in the now.